Alexander, king of Macedon, 25 years old, standing before his greatest challenge, the mighty Persian Empire. Darius III, Emperor of Persia. He has amassed his entire force, vowing to reclaim his lost glory.
Darius deliberately chose this plain. The terrain is perfect for Persia to unleash its overwhelming cavalry advantage.
The enormous Persian force, estimated at over 100,000 men, many times larger than the Macedonian army.
The Bactrian and Scythian cavalry were among the most elite forces, specifically trained to counter Alexander's own formidable cavalry.
Darius's secret weapon, 200 scythe chariots, designed to tear apart the Macedonian phalanx formation. Darius ordered the battlefield leveled, removing every obstacle. His purpose was a direct confrontation. Alexander had only around 47,000 troops, a professional, disciplined, and seasoned army.
Macedonian phalanx, a colossal wall of sarissas. It was the core of Macedonian tactics.
The companions' cavalry was Alexander's hammer, the elite striking force. Alexander realized the terrain was a trap. He knew he had to find a unique strategy. Alexander refused trickery. He desired a clear, fair victory to prove his greatness.
Alexander positions his forces in an oblique formation, concentrating their attacking strength on his right flank.
Alexander deploys a double phalanx formation. The rear phalanx units are thus protected from being outflanked by Persian cavalry.
The Persian left flank is commanded by Bessus, a massive, powerful cavalry force. The Persian right flank is commanded by Mazaeus, a numerous, yet less formidable force. Darius III is at the very center of his formation, the advantage and command center of Persia. A frightening silence. The two armies look at each other. History is about to change. Alexander orders the advance. The Macedonian formation begins to move slowly towards the right flank. The formation moves diagonally, stretching the Persian lines and creating a critical gap.
Darius falls into the trap. The Persian cavalry is forced to follow Alexander to prevent being outflanked.
Maintain the line! Close the gap!
Darius fears being outflanked. He orders Bessus to maintain formation.
The Scythian cavalry sprints forward, attempting to outflank Alexander before he breaks formation.
The Persian formation is stretched. Darius's own defense has created an opportunity. Alexander leads. He moves to the outermost flank, drawing Darius's attention. The Persian cavalry is close. A fierce cavalry clash is about to begin. The light infantry units prepare. Their mission is to disrupt the enemy cavalry formation. Trumpets blare. The battle begins. Chaos spreads across the vast right flank.
In the center, the phalanx soldiers prepared. They had been trained to confront the scythe chariots.
Darius III believed the time had come. He ordered the scythe chariots to attack the Macedonian center. The scythe chariots accelerate. Their scythe blades hope to tear apart the disciplined formation.
Perfect tactic. The phalanx opens paths, letting the chariots pass. Light infantry wounds the horses. Scythe chariots break through but are isolated. They are destroyed by the reserve units and the phalanx.
The scythe chariot tactic has failed. Alexander had anticipated it and trained his army accordingly. Bessus attempts to outflank Alexander. Persian forces commit heavily to the right wing. Alexander holds disciplined formation. He moves diagonally, unhurried.
The light infantry form a wall.
The Persian cavalry is slowed and suffers casualties.
Alexander has stretched the Persians far enough. The moment of decision is at hand. The reserve formation on the right flank prepares. They must deal with the outflanking Persian cavalry. Parmenian's left flank is under immense pressure from Mazaeus. The Persians are attacking with full force.
Hold the line! To the left! Push them back!
The Thessaly cavalry is well trained. They hold their formation, refusing to yield an inch. Parmenian must trust in the strategy. Hold the line for Alexander to deliver the decisive blow.
The phalanx soldiers maintain their ranks. The Sarissa wall is impenetrable.
Alexander spots the opportunity. The Persian cavalry has stretched, creating a gap.
This is the moment he waited for. Alexander ignites the companions, preparing for the devastating punch. Breakthrough. Alexander and the companions surge into the gap, striking directly at Darius III. Arrows and javelins fly towards Alexander. He is in the most dangerous position. Darius III is horrified. Alexander is advancing straight to the command position.
Indian cavalry and Persian bodyguards charge forward, attempting to halt the breakthrough.
Alexander engages fiercely. His courage is legendary.
Psychological defeat. Darius III turns his back, ordering a retreat from Gaugamela.
The king's flight was the final blow. The Immortals, Darius's elite guard, now dissolve into chaos.
Psychological collapse. Persian soldiers see the king fleeing, knowing the battle is over.
Alexander has succeeded. The central breakthrough tactic has triumphed.
Alexander decides to pursue Darius. He aims to end the war. But the left flank was in peril. A messenger from Parmenian urgently called for aid. Parmenian was outflanked by Mazaeus. Persian cavalry advanced into the camp area.
The greatest danger. Persian cavalry attacks the phalanx from behind.
The phalanx reacts swiftly. The units pivot their formation, creating a new wall of sarissas.
Great chaos. But Macedonian discipline helps them stand firm.
Alexander leads the companions attacking the Persian cavalry trying to retreat.
Mazaeus recognized the hopeless situation. He withdrew the right flank to preserve his forces.
Alexander attacks with all his might. The fury of having to abandon Darius burns within him. A bloody battle. Alexander attempts to destroy as many Persian troops as possible.
A complete victory belongs to Macedonia. The Persian Empire has fallen.
Alexander knew Darius had escaped. He decided to pursue him later. Gaugamela bathed in blood. A single day of battle changed the map of the world. Macedonia suffered light casualties. Disciplis triumphed over numbers. Phalanx discipline was key. They held the line.
Alexander ordered the pursuit. He intended to capture Darius III alive.
Alexander the Great is recognized as King of Asia. His dream has come true.
The Achaemenid Persian Empire has fallen. An era ends. The Battle of Gaugamela was a tactical masterpiece. It remains, forever, a lesson in history. The double formation was genius. Alexander had predicted every attack.
Darius' flight was a death blow. Loyalty crumbled. Alexander and Parmenion reunited. The victory was theirs.
The Macedonian forces pause to rest. They have made history. Alexander knows Darius will continue to run. The pursuit will be long. Greek allies fought bravely. They were an important part of the victory. Sarissa and Macedonian swords proved superior strength. The breakthrough was the core. Alexander created and exploited the Persian vulnerability. Alexander's courage was the inspiration for his army.
Darius III failed miserably. He had lost the empire.
Night falls over Gaugamela. The conquest is complete. Macedonia wins by discipline, not just strength. Thousands of Persian prisoners. Alexander handles them humanely. News of the victory spreads across the world. Alexander is invincible. Alexander heads towards Persepolis, the ancient capital. The Immortals, Darius's elite guard, fought valiantly to protect their king, but in the chaos of
Alexander commemorates the warriors who sacrificed for victory. The anti-scythe chariot tactic is a classic lesson in military strategy.
Gaugamela is Alexander the Great's greatest victory.
This victory shaped the ancient world forever. While Alexander broke through, Parmenian's Macedonian left flank was under immense pressure.
Mazaeus, the satrap of Babylon, unleashed his entire Armenian and Cappadocian cavalry force upon the left flank.
Thessaly cavalry demonstrated iron discipline, fighting defensively to hold their ground. Macedonian soldiers must contend with continuous attacks from heavy Persian cavalry. The steadfastness of the Greek phalanx formation is key. They will not allow the enemy to break through.
Mazaeus seeks to outflank them. The Persian cavalry moves diagonally to find a weak point. Parmenion understands the strategy. He must hold the line, awaiting Alexander's decisive strike. A gap is created. Persian cavalry swiftly advances behind the Macedonian formation. The Persian cavalry avoids the main phalanx. They race directly towards the camp and supply wagons. Logistics attacked. Guards and unarmed personnel trying to protect treasures. Darius is unaware of this success. His retreat is too early. Alexander's breakthrough was successful. Darius III is now fleeing towards Arbela.
Alexander was forced to make a difficult decision between absolute victory and saving his comrades.
Alexander chose to save the left flank. He abandoned the opportunity to capture Darius III alive. The companions turn back. They must cut through the retreating Persian remnants.
The retreating Persian cavalry is attacked. The battle becomes chaotic and bloody.
Alexander falls into danger. He fights fiercely amidst the Persian ranks. The reinforcements have arrived. The Thessalian cavalry is reinvigorated.
Mazaeus realizes Darius has fled. All his efforts are futile.
main. Mazaeus decides to retreat. He does not want his forces to be completely destroyed. The final confrontation. Alexander violently attacks the retreating forces.
Mazaeus' forces suffered heavy losses. The retreat could not be carried out in an orderly fashion.
The reserve units dealt with the infiltration. The logistical threat was eliminated. The complete disintegration. The wave of retreat from the Persian right flank spread across the battlefield. The phalanx advances. They complete the rout and stabilize the battle lines. The fighting is over. The Macedonian army roars with resounding victory. The Gaugamela plain is strewn with corpses. Persian casualties are extremely heavy. Alexander meets Parmenion. The two share the dangerous moments they have passed through. Though weary, Alexander decides to pursue Darius III immediately. Only the elite companion cavalry and Thessalian cavalry are chosen for the rapid pursuit. Bucephalus, tired but ready. Alexander cannot delay. The pursuit begins. Alexander wants to end the war with Darius. Darius ran towards Arbela, where he had left his treasures and his family.
Alexander took no rest. He and his cavalry rode through the night, determined to overtake Darius.
They reached Arbela. Darius had fled further, but left behind immense treasures. The royal treasury was seized. This was Macedonia's immense spoils of war.
Alexander only found traces. Darius III had fled towards Ecbatana, the Median capital. Alexander halted his pursuit. He now had to secure Babylon and the other political centers of Persia.
Alexander advances towards Babylon, the ancient cultural and financial heart.
Mazaeus, the defeated general of the right flank, opens the gates of Babylon. There is no resistance.
Alexander is welcomed by the Babylonians. He declares himself the legitimate heir.
An unexpected decision. Alexander appointed Mazaeus as satrap, demonstrating his leniency.
Alexander departed Babylon. His next objective, the ancient city of Susa. Susa, too, had surrendered, and Alexander continued to secure the imperial treasures.
The treasures in Susa were immense, greatly helping Alexander consolidate his finances.
The Persian gates, a narrow gorge. Darius' forces, under Ariobarzanes, stood ready to deny Alexander.
Ariobarzanes fought with fierce courage. He inflicted heavy casualties on Alexander's Macedonians, turning the pass into a deadly trap.
Ariobarzanes is defeated. The road to the heart of the empire is open.
Alexander arrives in Persepolis. This place is the symbolic heart of Persian power.
Alexander orders the burning of Xerxes' palace. Vengeance for the destruction of Greece.
The fire of vengeance spreads, a symbol of the Achaemenid Empire's end.
Darius remains a threat. Alexander's relentless pursuit continues.
Alexander advances towards Ecbatana, where Darius desperately attempts to rally new forces. High-speed marches. The Macedonian soldiers endured extreme fatigue.
Darius III flees again. He doesn't want to face Alexander directly.
Darius's incessant flight erodes the last vestiges of loyalty, turning his grand army into a desperate, leaderless mass. Bessus, the satrap of Bactria, began to lose all faith in Darius's leadership, seizing the moment to forge his own destiny. Conspiracy forms. Bessus, driven by ambition and a complete loss of faith in Darius, now plots to betray the emperor and claim the throne for himself.
Darius III is seized by his own men, his power utterly stripped away.
Alexander receives news, increasing his pursuit speed to capture Darius.
Macedonian cavalry rides frantically. Alexander is determined not to let him slip away.
Across the vast, arid plains, the Macedonian cavalry discovered their target. Bessus's convoy was finally within reach.
Bessus, in a panic, ordered a retreat, abandoning Darius his prisoner.
Bessus, in a final act of desperate betrayal, murdered Darius III. Darius III lies dying, a death unworthy of an emperor. Alexander bows down before his rival. He regrets not being able to fight him fairly. Darius III passes away. The Achaemenid dynasty comes to an eternal end. Alexander should reverence. He wrapped Darius in his own cloak, mourning a king. Alexander swore revenge. He saw Bessus as a traitor, unworthy of being king.
Alexander organized a royal funeral, a political and humane act. The pursuit shift. Alexander now had to contend with the self-proclaimed emperor, Bessus.
The conquest continued eastward, traversing through harsh, unforgiving lands. Alexander's power now stretched from Greece to the distant Indus River. The prolonged campaign wearied the soldiers. They yearned for home. Loyalty to Alexander was tested by prolonged fatigue. Alexander still uses the old tactic. The hammer and anvil is the ultimate tactic. The policy of leniency proved effective. Persian cavalry now served Alexander.
Light infantry proved invaluable in mountainous terrain. Their flexibility was paramount.
Persian gold enriched Macedonia, yet it would later fuel an unforeseen inflation.
Gaugamela paved the way for Greek culture, the beginning of the Hellenistic Age.
Alexander was seen as a god. His fame spread across the world.
Persia relied on sheer numbers. Macedonia relied on quality and superior tactics. Darius's flight was a personal failure. His leadership qualities were deeply lacking. The opening lanes tactic against scythe chariots was a stroke of tactical genius. The Greek allies were astounded. Never before had they witnessed such a monumental victory.
The Battle of Gaugamela was recorded in meticulous detail. It stands as an eternal military lesson.
Alexander prepares for India. The conquest has not stopped yet. Alexander swears to punish Bessus. The betrayer cannot survive.
They won through perseverance, overcoming every hardship of the relentless march.
The companion cavalry demonstrated their unparalleled superiority in every battle.
Alexander holds the symbol of Persian power. The world has changed. Alexander and his warhorse rest. They have completed their mission. The throne is empty. Gaugamela is the loudest declaration.
After Gaugamela, Alexander was not merely a conqueror. He was the official heir to the Persian Empire.
Alexander adopted a policy of lenience. He reappointed the Persian satraps to their former positions to maintain stability.
Gaugamela opened the Hellenistic era. Greek culture began to blend with Asian traditions.
Alexander established new Alexandrias. These cities were centers for the dissemination of Greek culture.
Bessus proclaimed himself king of Persia.
He became Alexander's primary enemy in the east.
Alexander considered Bessus a betrayer. Punishing Bessus became his foremost objective. The pursuit of Bessus was arduous. Through deserts, mountains, and harsh climates. The prolonged campaign brought weariness. The army's loyalty was tested. Bactria and Sogdia resisted. They used guerrilla tactics, avoiding direct confrontation.
Alexander had to conquer mountain strongholds. It required persistence and mountain climbing techniques.
Alexander's genius for engineering was paramount. He deployed skilled engineers to overcome the sheer, vertical cliffs.
The downfall of Bessus. He was seized and handed over by his own men.
Alexander stripped Bessus of all his titles. The punishment had begun. Alexander applied the punishment according to Persian law. Bessus had his ears and nose cut off for betraying the king. Bessus was publicly executed on Alexander's orders. A powerful warning.
Alexander consolidated his power, respecting local gods and customs. Alexander marries Roxana, a political move to harmonize Macedonian and Persian cultures. Alexander promotes harmony. He aims to create a unified ruling class.
But this caused dissatisfaction. The Macedonian soldiers did not want to become Persian. Alexander adopted Persian customs. The demand for the proskynesis ritual caused controversy. The Greek generals strongly objected. They considered this an insult to their freedom. Callisthenes, Aristotle's nephew, publicly objected. Alexander grew furious.
Callisthenes was arrested and left to perish in the darkness of a dungeon, a grave blemish on Alexander's reign.
Alexander embraced religion. He wished to be seen as a god, the son of Zeus.
Gaugamela was the genesis of a new Alexander and of the Hellenization of the East. The victory had changed him forever. The empire was too vast. Alexander faced the challenge of governance.
Alexander formed multicultural military units. Persian cavalry cooperated.
Alexander, ever the manipulator of cultures, utilized Persian rituals to strategically bind his newly appointed satraps.
Alexander formed new elite units, equipped in the Greek style.
The eastern campaigns, particularly through the formidable Zagros Mountains, proved far more arduous than any before.
Fatigue and scarcity. The Macedonian soldiers had to endure immense hardship, battling not just foes.
Persian treasures ignited a new kind of hunger. Among some Macedonian generals, the insidious whisper of corruption began to spread.
Relates. Alexander initiated the profound spread of Greek culture, establishing theaters and libraries in his newly founded.
Koine Greek became the common language, connecting different cultures. The Hellenistic age begins. Alexander's legacy spreads far and wide.
Next objective, India. Alexander is never satisfied.
Alexander reorganizes his army, enhancing their combat capabilities.
Alexander's siege capabilities are tested against the formidable eastern strongholds.
Supply is the greatest challenge. Desert and treacherous terrain. Alexander utilizes local knowledge. Persian soldiers assist in finding supplies. Alexander solidifies the legend. He is the son of Zeus.
Discontent led to conspiracy. Alexander executed Philotas and his father Parmenion.
The pressures of imperial rule made Alexander more ruthless.
Despite the profound changes within him, Alexander's strategic wisdom and tactical skills remained as sharp and formidable as ever.
The path to India now beckoned. Ahead lay the mighty Hindu Kush, a formidable gateway to an unknown world.
The division grew between the old guards and Alexander's new vision.
Alexander strives for unity. He endeavors to forge a unified empire.
Alexander battles the fierce Scythian cavalry at the Jaxartes River. He is wounded during the intense fight, but ultimately emerges victorious.
The undeniable courage of Alexander was legendary. He always led from the front, a vanguard in every... Alexander's empire was the greatest in the ancient world. Tired and discontent, they miss home. Managing logistics was the greatest challenge. The desert and harsh climate were unforgiving.
Water is life. Alexander always sought out water sources.
Indigenous cavalry became an important part of the army.
Persian gold helps Alexander maintain loyalty.
Cultures blend. Macedonian soldiers learn the local language. Alexander controls all power. No one can challenge.
Greek and Persian attire blended. A new era. The fire of Persepolis was a declaration of power.
The punishment of Bessus solidified Alexander's power. Alexander sometimes forgave. He aimed to build cooperation. Next objective, the Indus River. Alexander sets his sights on India.
Supreme power often comes with profound solitude.
Bucephalus was Alexander's most loyal friend. Alexander's tactical skill remained supreme. Macedonian soldiers want to return. They debate with Alexander.
My king, our bodies ache, our homes call to us. Alexander uses his rhetorical skills to persuade the army to continue.
My brave companion.
Alexander promises great rewards. This fuels their greed and honor. The riches of India await us.
Local rebellions ignite. Alexander is forced to contend with them. Betrayal always lurked. Alexander became more cautious. Alexander used festivals to unite cultures and maintain morale. Gaugamela was a reminder. Victory came from courage. Alexander is flexible. He adjusts tactics to the terrain. Light infantry proves its agility, overcoming mountains with ease. Alexander possessed patience. He did not rush into direct assault. They had come far. The journey seemed unending.
Alexander still remains the center of power.
Alexander's leadership shifts, transforming from the king of Macedon into the emperor of Persia.
Large empires are prone to collapse. Alexander faces this very curse.
Alexander craves eternity, to forge an immortal empire.
Macedonian soldiers begin to build new lives, intertwining their destinies with the vibrant cultures of Asia.
Friendship is tested, but it endures. Each day is a new discovery. Alexander expands his knowledge. Alexander becomes a living legend. Courage and talent. Final goal: the Indus River, the border of the world. Alexander never wavers. Decisive and strong. Alexander chose war, leaving his homeland. Alexander, now resolute in his ambition, knew that danger would forever be his steadfast companion. Alexander was content with the fall of Persia. Alexander freed Greece from the Persian yoke. Alexander overcame every challenge, affirming his greatness with each stride. Alexander respected religion, a wise policy.
The next goal is the Hindu Kush range, the path to India.
The Hellenistic age begins. Alexander's legacy is eternal.
Alexander advanced into India, crossing the formidable Hindu Kush mountains, a grueling test of his army's endurance.
The Indian terrain was vastly different. Dense forests, large rivers, and a humid climate presented new challenges.
Alexander meets King Taxiles. This alliance helps him solidify his position in India. Alexander faces his most formidable challenge yet, King Porus. This proud Indian king.
Porus watches the main ford. His elephants are ready.
We must distract him and cross elsewhere.
Alexander employs cunning deception. He launches his forces across the storm-ravaged river under the cloak of night, aiming for a decisive, unexpected strike.
Alexander adjusts his tactics. He deploys light infantry to target the elephant's legs, while his cavalry moves to flank.
Alexander wins the battle. Although wounded, King Porus still shows courage. Alexander respected Porus. He restored his kingdom to this defeated king.
They had traveled too far. The Macedonian soldiers yearned to return to their homeland.
Alexander accepted defeat. He was forced to turn back.
He erected 12 great altars, marking the limit of the Macedonian Empire.
Alexander led his army south, beginning the arduous journey home. Alexander built a fleet. He wanted to explore the Arabian Sea.
Alexander was severely wounded while attacking the fortress of Mali. He almost lost his life.
Alexander recovered. His appearance restored the army's morale. The journey through the Gedrosian desert was a catastrophe. The climate was extremely harsh. The army suffered terrible losses, greater than any battle. Hunger and thirst claimed more lives than the fiercest enemy.
Allah shares the hardship. His courage is honored.
Thank you, sir.
Alexander punishes severely. He restores discipline and power.
Alexander promotes harmony. He seeks to build a unified empire.
Alexander marries Statera, consolidating his position as the legitimate heir.
The opulent surroundings of Susa did little to soothe the growing resentment among the Macedonian generals. They feared Alexander was forgetting his heritage.
The death of Hephaestion was a massive shock. Alexander was consumed by immense grief.
Alexander organized a lavish funeral, a testament to his profound pain and immense loss.
As we turned it, Alexander returns to Babylon. He is preparing for the Arabian campaign.
May of 323 BCE. Alexander falls gravely ill. The cause remains disputed.
The generals gather, their faces etched with the grim realization that Alexander's time is short. My lord, who will inherit your throne?
On the 10th or 11th of June 323 BCE, Alexander the Great passed away in Babylon.
The empire is divided. Generals scramble for power. The Diadochi era begins.
Gaugamela is the beginning, the greatest victory, but also the beginning of the end.
Alexander carries the indelible marks of his relentless campaigns. The sheer exhaustion.
Alexander's body was taken to Egypt, resting in Alexandria. The legend of Alexander endures. The king who would never be forgotten. The era of conquest ends. The world enters a new phase.
Hellenization's legacy spreads, connecting diverse cultures.
Alexander's desire for conquest knew no bounds.
Alexander had become more brutal and less tolerant, the relentless demands of empire hardening his spirit.
Large empires are prone to downfall. Alexander now confronts this inherent curse.
The army is discontent. They want to go home. Friendship and loyalty are tested. Alexander wanted to unify the East and the West. Supreme power comes with solitude. A mere 13 years on the throne. A short reign, yet immensely great.
Alexander's cultural and political legacy endures, its influence shaping the world for centuries to come.
Gaugamela is a historical imprint. The eternal battle. The empire collapsed. The generals vied for power.
The Hellenistic era continues. Cultures are now blending.
Alexander and Bucephalus, the symbol of conquest.
Alexander always sought challenge. His hunting skills.
Alexander's body was a testament to his life of relentless battle, each scar a mark of courage and survival.
Alexander was the very embodiment of courage, a living legend etched with the marks of his unyielding spirit.
Alexander, despite his brilliance, was sometimes prone to outbursts, a fiery temper that could erupt without warning.
Alexander, for all his fiery temper,
was an unparalleled master of political manipulation. Respect for a formidable opponent is a cornerstone of true greatness. They had come too far. The Macedonian soldiers were exhausted. The journey back through the desert is a challenge. Alexander had to restore power. Alexander was attempting to unify cultures. The Persianization was causing great discontent among Alexander's generals. The death of Hephaestion was a profound shock. Babylon was where Alexander would die. The cause of his death remains a profound mystery.
To the strongest. A tragic legacy. The empire, now leaderless, would be divided. The great king is gone.
The beginning of the Diadochi era.
Gaugamela is a reminder. Victory is thanks to strategy.
The legend of Alexander lives on forever. Boundless ambition. An eternal vision.
Alexander always sought new challenges. His hunting skills were renowned.
Alexander is a symbol of courage.
Alexander is a political master. Respect for an adversary is part of greatness. They had come too far. The Macedonian soldiers were exhausted.
Alexander! Alexander must restore order.
Alexander's policy of Persianization caused deep resentment among his Macedonian generals. The death of Hephaestion was a massive shock. Babylon is where Alexander died. The cause of his death remains a mystery. A tragic legacy. The empire divided. The great king has departed.
The empire is divided. The beginning of the Diadochi era.
Gaugamela, a stark reminder. Victory belongs to strategy.
The legend of Alexander lives on forever.
Unbound ambition. Eternal vision.